Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Rise of the Phoenix. I do apologize for not getting this video out sooner, but I was sick for a few days and couldn't really record while coughing every few minutes, but I'm feeling a lot better now, and this video will be part 2 of my Season 2 PvP metagame overview that will focus on the evil factions on role-playing servers. I do have one short announcement to make. It was suggested to me that I do a fun little question and answer video so that you all can get to know me better. So if you have any questions that you would like for me to answer, whether about the game or about my real life, please do post them down in the comment section below or hop into my Discord server and submit them there. I'll pick maybe 3 to 5 of my favorite questions based on how long I think they'll take to answer and answer them in a video in the near future. But before we get to the video itself, if you enjoy my content, please take a minute to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Welcome back everyone, let's get right into it. I'm going to slightly change my format from the first video. In this one I'll be picking one commander of each tier rather than 3 commanders overall. The first commander on my list will probably surprise exactly nobody. It is the Witch King. When you need something dead and you need it dead right now, this is the guy that you can always rely on to get the job done. He's one of the strongest commanders in the game, possibly the absolute strongest, although we'll see how that holds up with the recent alchemist changes, since he seems to be quite reliant on alchemists. So the Witch King has one of the most powerful abilities in the game, in my opinion. That's Convener or Convener, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but basically it lets your entire army gain initiative and attack twice in the first 2 rounds. It doesn't always happen, but 75% of the time it works all the time. In addition to this, he gives a respectable amount of damage reduction to Orc and Uruk-hai units, and because he's a Nazgul, he has Ringwraith and Nazgul Screech available at Respect 3. He's usable at Respect 3. He's usable at Respect 1, but Respect 3 is really where his power is unlocked, because at that point, thanks to the 30% increased burn, poison, and focus damage from Ringwraith, during those first 2 rounds, your alchemists are just doing such ridiculous amounts of damage. Bonus points, if you're going to use this guy, if you can strengthen and refine an Orthank's Devilry, that way, specifically the one that has the max damage chance, that way during those first 2 rounds, not only are your alchemists going to have a chance to attack twice, they're also going to have a chance to do maximum damage on those attacks, which is just an incredible amount of damage. This report here does not have that, but it does have another important thing to point out about the Witch King, and that is you really need a helm that gives a chance for your army to gain stun immunity, because you do not want your Convener rounds to get shut down by stuns from an enemy commander like Gandalf the Grey, for example. So yeah, this guy is amazing. Let's check out the alchemist damage on this fight. Look at that. Look at that. That is so crazy. This is without Orthank's Devilry, by the way. 245,000 damage against a level 53 AO. Sorry, 53. I don't know why I said 53. Level 50 AON with reasonable gear. I mean, this isn't like all-out whale gear. This is probably like dolphin level gear here, but still, absolutely incredible commander. Honorable mentions for tier 3 go to Sauron, probably a fan favorite, I would imagine. Although I think he's going to start seeing less and less use because more and more players are realizing how important it is to have anti-madness helmets. Unfortunately, Sauron is sort of hit or miss because of that. So first of all, you need to make sure that you don't run into a commander that has an anti-madness helm. Second of all, you have to hope both that Ring of Terror goes off, and that if it does go off, the enemy units that are affected by it actually hit each other rather than resisting madness and hitting you anyway. So he can be a little bit hit or miss. I think over time, if the anti-madness helmet thing sticks around, we might be seeing less and less use out of him unless people come up with some other interesting builds for him that don't rely on madness. I'm going to have a quick hot take in this video, and that's going to be me saying that I think Kirun is quite underestimated right now. That's particularly because Theoden and Gandalf the Grey seem to be so prevalent, at least on my server. This guy is essentially a better Khaldun, and the big drawback of him is he really needs Respect 5, which is certainly not an easy thing to do for a Tier 3 commander. But if you do get him to Respect 5, he can play essentially exactly the same as Khaldun by providing your entire army, as long as they're melee units, a pretty substantial amount of damage mitigation through all of his passive and, I guess, proc-based abilities, as you would call them, 50% chance abilities. And he also works super well for a faction like Angmar, who have Evil Men Tier 4 units. So yeah, he plays exactly like Khaldun, except he also brings healing to the table. So he's just like an upgraded Khaldun. He's not as flashy as Witch King or Sauron, but Evil Men have the sort of unique advantage right now that they avoid, Champion of the Light? Something of the Light from Gandalf that makes orcs, rooks, and trolls take 28% increased damage, which is a massive damage buff. So you can play Evil Men with Kirun and get around that, while also having your army have a 25% chance of attacking twice every single round. But at the end of the day, your respect items are probably better spent on the Witch King or Sauron, because getting Respect 5 on this guy is going to be a lot more difficult than Respect 3 on the Witch King. And the Witch King is still probably more powerful than Kirun, even if Kirun is at Respect 5. Alright, on to Tier 2. This will probably surprise exactly nobody once again. We have Lurtz. This guy absolutely needs Respect 3 to work, but it's not too bad to get, especially with those new chests that allow you to pick Respect items for particular commanders if you have the Season 2 Season Pass. This guy does an absolutely absurd amount of damage, and is one of the few commanders that I would consider to be a counter to Gandalf the Grey. Just put some tanky units into his army, preferably Mumakils if you have access to them, and watch as he completely obliterates pretty much every commander that stands in his way. The only drawback of Lurtz is that he needs to be attacking because of how Pursuer works. If you get caught defending with Lurtz, he is going to lose 20% damage, so effectively these 15 points in Pursuer are wasted. Let's see if I can pull up, did not mean to click that. Let's see if I can find a decent report in here. Somebody's gotta. Look at this freaking Witch Kings. Oh my goodness. Oh, here we go. That will probably be a decent report. 47 alerts. Quite nice gear. 49 tier 3 Aragorn, also quite nice gear. Yeah, 210,000 commander damage. One thing to do if you want to go hunting specifically for Gandalf is you can put Dragoons and or Halberdiers in his army. That way those units will avoid that extra damage from Champion of the Light. I don't think much else needs to be said about Lurtz. This guy's a monster. I'm sure everybody knows it by now. Honorable mentions for tier 2 commanders are Khamûl for his flexibility. So let's pull up my Khamûl for now. Ignore these items. I'm working on my itemization right now. So at respect 3, he has Ringwraith and Nazgul Screech, which are both great abilities. He can run Alchemists. At respect 5, he gets the Black Easterling and Black Rider, which will allow him to play with cavalry-based armies if you want to go for that. And of course, he has second in command, which is just a solid skill tree overall. My other honorable mention is Gothmog. Apparently my Gothmog just hit 40. Sweet. Whatever, I'll figure out the point later. Probably just dumping it here though, so that'll be fine. Yeah, this guy is an absolute madman when it comes to alchemists, which obviously are super powerful units. Yeah, it gives them a 60% chance to cause maximum damage, which is amazing when their damage range is now 4 to 14. 14 being way more damage than 4. That's how math works, right? He also provides your army with a little bit of healing, a little anti-heal here that goes off a couple of times in a fight, extra defense, and extra damage and some focus. So really solid commander overall. At respect 5, he can use orcs, although probably alchemists are still better. But if you want to use something like Gorbag, Mouth of Sauron, and Gothmog as your 3 commanders, you could get by with all orc units, I imagine. But really, what his respect 5 unlocks is the most powerful siege ability in the game, with +4 siege per point, giving each of your units up to +28 siege damage. You can do the math. If you're carrying around 8,000 alchemists, so 80 command worth of alchemists, that's a lot of siege damage. I would not advise using him for combat and siege, but if you need a siege commander, this guy is going to do way more siege damage than anybody else. If you want to do siege and combat and be super brave, I'm not going to stop you. I just wouldn't recommend it necessarily. And last up, our tier 1 commander is Khaldun. This was a really hard choice between Khaldun, Grima, Gorbag, and Agzok. All of these commanders are viable for their own reasons, but I'm going to talk about Khaldun for the same reason I mentioned Kirun earlier, and I think he fits perfectly into the PvP metagame in Season 2, at least on my server. The issue with Grima is he relies on madness. A lot of people are running anti-madness helms. Gorbag relies entirely on orcs. A ton of people are running Gandalf the Grey with Champion of the Light. And Agzok he's still a good commander, but I already have alerts, and I think most people already have alerts. So Agzok does what alerts does, just not quite as good as alerts. So, but he is a good option if you are a free-to-play or low-budget player, don't have alerts. Agzok can perform pretty well and do a ton of damage. Khaldun does need Respect 5 in order to truly shine, so that he has Marshal of the East Mark, Quicksand, and Tribal Tactics. I'm probably going to spec him back into Tribal Tactics over Experienced Warrior and Hunt Down. I was just kind of testing that to see what it felt like versus the extra attacks. But right now in the meta, this guy I think is perfectly situated to take advantage of a few things. He has an impressive amount of active and passive damage mitigation. I think he has some of the best overall mitigation in the game for melee units. Access to Tribal Tactics, which is perfect for Angmar's tier 4 unit. He seems to be able to handle Theoden and other cavalry-based commanders. And the reason I said he has kind of a unique situation in the metagame here is because he doesn't rely on madness. A lot of people are running anti-madness helms. He doesn't rely on stuns. A lot of people are running anti-stun helms. He doesn't rely on fire damage. A lot of people are running Dwallin's or other dwarf fire damage reduction or high alert. He doesn't rely on orcs, uruks, or trolls. A lot of people are relying on alchemists. So all of these little things add up to make the good side commanders designed to counter madness, stuns, fire damage in particular. Since he doesn't rely on any of those, he gets to, it's kind of like a wasted item slot, right? If you have an anti-madness helm and you fight Khaldun, who cares? Like, you could just have a better helm, right? But you've invested into the anti-madness helm because you're afraid of Sauron or Grima. You're running Gandalf the Grey because you want to run High Alert and Champion of the Light and slay alchemists all day long. Well, guess what? Khaldun doesn't have alchemists because he's running around with evil men. And then the final thing I'll say about him, and I gotta go to the tavern to pull this up, is his unique item. The Fang of the East has an absolutely incredible trait right here. First 4 rounds, allied units, damage received from mounted units -4%. So even more mitigation, specifically against cavalry armies, of which there is an absolute abundance of, at least on my server. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something useful. Let me know your experiences with Evil Side PvP metagame on your server in the comments down below. Rise of the Phoenix, over and out.